Alright guys, I just ordered some Indian food and I've got 20 minutes to wait, so let's make a video. I'm trying to get that laser etching, but I don't think it's going to happen. Really tough to see. Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. Alright, so now in yesterday's video I mentioned another friend who recently got a Seiko, and this friend, I'll keep his anonymity, but he has two Rolexes and he just picked up a Seiko, a Prospex Diver, which he absolutely loves. He's going extreme. He is actually getting rid of his two Rolexes, and he's kind of surprised at his reaction to his Seiko, about as much as I am, which is, we have these watches that we really like, but we're very surprised at how much we like them. And in a way, it does when you get a watch that's far cheaper than a Rolex, but it satisfies you as much. And it sort of turns you on in a way that your Rolex did at one time. It makes you sort of question what's going on. Am I still a Rolex guy? And I am still a Rolex guy. I'm not going to sell any of my Rolexes. I don't have the balls to do it, to be honest. I sometimes think about paring down and selling one, but I never get past the thinking stage, and I really don't know which one I would sell. I think probably the sub would be the one to sell, but that was my first Rolex, so that could be a bad decision, and it is different than the GMTs. But I think I would have seller's remorse. I really do. And that's what kind of scares the hell out of me about actually really looking into selling. So I don't think it's going to happen. But he's doing it. He's doing it. He's going to be a Seiko guy, and he is deep into the Rolex. So this is a huge thing. He's probably, it's a toss-up who is a bigger Rolex fan, myself or this gentleman, and so this is big news. It's kind of like Archie saying, "I'm selling all my watches. I'm out." It's that big, and so I'd like to talk about that for a minute. And in another video, months and months ago, I made a video about where I mentioned how we like to keep moving, and we like to, it's just the nature of being human. It's stagnation is just not something that appeals to us, and that's why it is a bit of a challenge to remain satisfied with my three Seikos, with my three Rolexes, because you want to progress, and you want to move, and you want to change, and you want to mix things up, and you want action and movement, and that oftentimes manifests itself in selling watches or buying watches, changing the collection in some way, trading. And if you're a watch person, it's very hard to realize a collection, have it, and be happy with it long term. That lack of movement and change creeps in and makes you feel like you should be doing something, selling something, buying something, doing something different. Now for me, it's an awareness of this dissatisfaction that creeps in from a lack of movement and a lack of action and change, and a sort of awareness of this feeling that allows me to step back and say, you are content and you are happy with where you are. You have to step back and look at the bigger picture and look at where you were and look at these watches and what they meant to you, and not get caught up in the moment, and to focus on the satisfaction that is there. And it's challenging. I almost feel like it's a Buddhist practice to maintain a sort of inner peace and inner balance about a collection, and not wanting to change it, and not pulling the trigger and making a rash decision that you may regret later. But for me, it's just realizing and knowing that I am where I wanted to be, and this aside from, say, a date just, this is the goal. And it is challenging to maintain that satisfaction. But again, I need to step back and sort of understand that it is my nature as a human that is prompting me to want to change things. And when I meditate on it and I think of a future without one of my watches or with a different watch, I understand that at that point in the future, I may also be feeling that discontentment from a lack of change, and knowing that it's likely going to happen in the future, it makes me realize that there's no escaping it, and that I must step back and look at the bigger picture, and in that sense, I sort of maintain satisfaction with my three watches. All right, well, I think when I started this video, what I wanted to talk about is that feeling of wanting to change and progress, and how this particular viewer, who is very surprised at his decision to become a non-Rolex guy and to have one Seiko, that very likely is a temporary situation. Meaning, we're always looking for the long-term collection that will satisfy us. That you will sit back and say, I'm there, I'm happy, and a year later you'll say, yeah, I'm still happy, I'm still content, it's wonderful. And 2 years later and 5 years later, you're just, I'm still as happy as can be. It's an unrealistic goal. So what you have to understand is that it really is an ever-changing and ever continuing journey. And in this particular viewer's journey, he is taking a break from Rolex. And will he be back? I would bet money on it. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, it could be 3 months, it could be longer. But will he be a one-watch Seiko guy for years and years? I think it's very unlikely. I just don't think we have it in us as humans to be that content. So it's interesting, and it's an interesting thing to see his horological journey, and to see the changes, and he's very extreme in his decision making. I'm much more conservative. He's the type that would wake up and say, okay, my 3 Rolexes, they're gone. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that. I wake up and I say, should I get rid of one? And think, nah. I don't get past the thinking stage. But I think that that mysterious feeling of satisfaction that is so elusive that we get oftentimes when we get a new piece that we've wanted for a long time. Right now I have it with this. It's very elusive, that feeling of satisfaction, but anyone can have it. It just takes looking at the big picture and realizing that that we are in a state of discontent, and that discontent just is inevitable, and it will creep into what yesterday could have seemed like an ideal situation that would be perfect long term. There is no long term bliss or satisfaction. I mean, it's part of the human condition. We are very prone to dissatisfaction, and it's what keeps us going. And that's part of Buddhism in itself, is to look at life, and all life is suffering, and oftentimes that suffering is from need and desire. And when you step back, you realize that you can, if you're conscious of this human deficiency, quell those desires. It's a constant battle. And in that sense, you can live in the now and appreciate the present. And I think that's what I try to do. And that's what I'm doing with this. What will the future bring with this Seiko, or with my collection? How will I feel in the future about my Rolexes or my Seikos? I don't know. And I try not to think about it and dwell, and try not to try and craft and tailor this future where I'm horologically happy. I try to live in the present and the pleasure that it brings. And right now it's a very low cost $35 pleasure that is puzzling. So it's interesting to see people's horological journeys and how they react. But I will just say that I think there's value in stepping back and realizing our discontent as humans, and our tendency to be discontent, and to live in the present and appreciate what you have. And it can be something very modest, like a Seiko 5, which is something I've realized. It doesn't have to be a Rolex. It doesn't have to be a multi-$1,000 watch. It can be something that is very aesthetically pleasing to you, something that you picked up on the cheap, that then makes you feel a certain way. And I think you do yourself a disservice when you say, but it's not a Seiko, or it's not a Rolex. And should I go Rolex? Or it's not a multi-$1,000 watch, and all of those things. So anyway, it's sort of a out there video, perhaps 15 minutes before my Indian food's ready. So I'll leave you there. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.